Hey, welcome back. I know you're so excited to see what happened with Thailand between Syngin and I.
He doesn't know there are cows just walking behind him.
Syngin Tania before TV, episode 3, Thailand. There's so much that's happened in such a short amount of time that this might sound messy and kind of all over the place, but that's just because there's so many moving parts. You have to remember, this is about 2 months of time and 10 minutes I'm about to share with you all, so bear with me. So finally, yay, we're off to Thailand. This is Syngin's first time leaving South Africa, first time leaving the country ever, and we're so excited. We had so much luggage with us because honestly, when I, came back to South Africa from the States, I didn't expect that we would be leaving South Africa. I thought I'd be living there for at least a couple years. So we had everything with us because who knew what we were going to do after Thailand. Land in Thailand, we actually met up with Syngin's friend who was living in Bangkok, who was teaching English at the time. Yeah, we partied for the day, had so much fun meeting up with his, South African friend who's now living in Thailand. But after that, we actually took off to the permaculture course the next day. And this little town called Mekong, and the next day, we left his friend and we checked into our permaculture course. And permaculture is a term coined by a white guy who went to study the ways of indigenous folks and how they lived with the land. And he basically took all his years of studies and put it into a book and coined the term permaculture. Besides that, this course was super dope. Everyone was really cool. The farm was in the middle of this cute little town, and we were so excited to start this new journey. This was really a step into our future. We talked about wanting to live off the land, talked about wanting to have a homestead or retreat center, and so this felt like the real first step into our future, and it was amazing. We spent 2 weeks in this course, and the great thing that really drew me to this course was the fact that once you take the course, you turn into family. That meaning, once you paid for the course, you can stay there as long as you want for free, as long as you're helping out some around the farm, which is super normal. And, if we were legit family, what we would be doing any day anyways, living on the farm. So it was super nice.
And then I harvested all of this turmeric with deer the other day. And we are going to replant some of it in probably a couple. So we started this yesterday. It's now a path to where the recycling trash and all that's going to be.
The only real downfall about this permaculture course is that, permaculture is all about community and being in communal space together, respect and love. And I didn't feel very comfortable there. Just due to some reasons. We did make some good friends from Switzerland, and I actually went to go visit them on a layover once when I was visiting Syngin, but, so we did make good friends, but the guy who kind of ran it wasn't my favorite, so it kind of put me in a dark place during this time. It was super hard to stay, focused and really involved. It was, as great as it was also kind of a dark time as well for me. Another cool thing about this permaculture place is the fact that there's this huge man-made lake. They use it as their water source to be able to pull water and garden the farmlands, but it was also swimmable, which was amazing. And that's actually how I spent my birthday, my 28th birthday. It was beautiful. Syngin took me out riding the bike around the small town. We stopped at little, not even bars, little drinking spots. And during that time, he had a couple of our other classmates actually putting together, there was this one floating raft that was in the lake, and he had them put together poles on the four corners, put a bug net around it. And so when we came back from driving around the different little local spots, we came back and he was like, I have another surprise. And he made us a floating bed so we could sleep out on the lake underneath the stars. It was so beautiful. It was so romantic. Probably one of the best gifts I've ever been given.
Oh no, kind of can.
Say happy birthday. You guys can't see right now, but we're in the middle of a dam. I'm sweating because I worked out. Not worked out.
And without the flashlight, like we're in the middle of the water, we can see fireflies flying around us, dancing in the ponds. Oh, I wish you can see the beauty of it. Oh my god, you can kind of see one right there. That green light. Oh no. Just kidding though. That's a street light.
So this raft was super cool. It had 4 poles on each corner. It had a bug net around it. And he had it planned out that, you know, once we were on it, he had one of the other classmates swim us out into the middle of the lake, drop a couple weights, and yeah, we slept under the stars. We didn't just sleep, we made love on this float raft under the stars in the middle of Thailand. It was one of my best birthdays. So thanks again for that, Syngin. But he did forget the blankets. So waking up at 2, 3 in the morning, kind of cold. We cut the weights off, and you know we're there like just trying to swim back, taking, you know, on the raft, or like using our hands to paddle back to shore. It was funny, but it was amazing. But yeah, so the course is done. All of our new friends, they're all going on their own ways. And Syngin and I, again, we didn't have plans. Remember, this was the plan, to stay here at this permaculture course until we figured things out. Which wasn't good for me. Remember how I said, like, the owner of that place had put me in such a dark cloud. It was such a negative space that I didn't want to leave our little hut. I wanted to stay in there all the time. I didn't want to volunteer. I didn't want to do anything. It kind of got in like a really depression spot. And so finally I was like, Syngin, I can't take this anymore. One of the other guys had told us about this Facebook platform for hostels around the world that like look for volunteers. So I went on there and I just kind of searched like Thailand, and somehow I found this really cool spot in Laos. They said they were looking for a couple who could come and do like 4 to 5 hours a day, and in exchange of helping out around the hostel, we would get a free bike, free room and board, free breakfast food, and a couple free booze. So it just seemed perfect for us. So I let Syngin know that was our next steps, and we packed up shop and headed off to Laos. And that was a great time. You know, Laos, we were in Bang Vieng, Laos, and it's really known as like a very party city, known for its tubing. So we go there, we check into our hostel.
This is the view of our hostel. And then this is the hostel.
Start working, and so our job was to really check people into the hostel and create a vibe for them. Like 2 to 3 days a week, it was like the big tubing days, and our hostel was known as the spot. So we would be prepared, and we'd get everybody turned up, drinking, having fun, taking shots, and then we'd bring them to the tubing location, drop them off, and that was that.
We're currently working. Everyone's over there playing drinking games. Say hi, Syngin. So they can stop. Okay, see, yeah, we're good.
You know, my favorite times in Laos, though, weren't when we were in the hostel. They were on our days off, when we would take the bike and we would just take it to random places, no idea where we're going, and we would just have fun with it. We would go on hikes. We would drink fresh water from the streams using banana flower petals as cups.
Okay guys, Tania Maduro drinking fresh water. Woo! Better than spring water.
You know, like it was just amazing. Amazing is, I don't know. It's so many words I feel like just can never describe these times. And you know, actually on one of these trips we found this random cave that had like a hidden Buddha statue in it. It was so beautiful. It was breathtaking. On another trip, we're just driving the bike, found this cool clearing like in the middle of the forest that we pulled over, and we had sex.
This is the spot I had sex.
in the middle of the forest, surrounded by mountains. Like, it just felt like, like so meant to be. But you know, that was on our days off. In this hostel, we shared one twin bed. And actually, when we first got there was another couple, but they were planning on leaving that upcoming week. And Syngin and I are looking around like, well, where are the other couples? And it kind of turned into a thing where Syngin and I were literally volunteering morning to night. And, you know, we're not getting compensated for this. We're also spending money on our days off and partying and playing. And I actually had this idea, and I brought it up to the hostel owner, and I said, you know, we create this vibe and we have them drinking and everything, and at the end of the night, everyone's always so hungry. Let me cook family meals. And so I would. There was a tubing trip. We would get them drinking, get them partying, and then we would also take pre-orders. I would create what the menu was, so a lot of times it'd be like green Thai curry. I cook different things all the time. But I would say, hey, tonight's dinner is green Thai curry. It's so much for a plate. Who wants one? So they'd have to pre-order, so I knew how much I'd have to prep. And it actually worked out. I made money for the hostel, and the hostel actually split the profits with us. So it worked out. All right, but remember how I said Vang Vieng is known as like a little party city? So it was fun, you know. We would do the tubing, have the parties at the hostel. We would go to jungle parties, but it started getting to the point where Syngin no longer had that work-life balance, and he realized that even for him and himself, he came to me and he was like, hey Tania, like, I know I'm drinking way too much, I'm partying way too much, it's definitely time to like move on, like we need to leave here. And that was like, I was like, oh, okay, he recognizes it. I didn't have to really bring it up to him. This is great self-awareness. This is a green flag for me. Great. So at this point I was like, all right, you need to plan. Like, I figured out, you know, the permaculture course. I figured out this place. Like, you now need to take the time and figure out our next steps. And I gave him, I was like, I want something really nice. I want something by the water. I you know, want it on this island. And so it felt good, you know. And after some days, I asked Syngin, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, have you looked up a couple places? And he literally like pulls up his phone, searches, and he's like, yeah, here's the place. And I'm like, okay, is there Wi-Fi? Is there food included? Like, what's... And he's like, you always have to nitpick everything. It turned into like a fight. And I'm like, because you put no care into it. Like, no care at all. Yeah, we can go to a next place, but like, is it going to be horrible where we have to leave again? Like, what thought process, how much care did you put into this? And so that kind of turned into a flag for me, where I was like, I'm good with going with the flow, but it's already been that. So can we put just a little bit more of an intention behind the next place that we choose? Yeah, so I kind of just took over that again. And I found this really great rental on the beach at this small spot in my favorite island, Koh Phangan in Thailand. And it was a little pricey, and I told Syngin, I don't care. I'm putting this on my credit card. I don't care at this point. I really want something nice. I want something really clean. I want a little bit of luxury. I just want that after this past like 2 months. And so that's what we did. We flew back to Thailand and went to Koh Phangan Island. And I knew of this island because of the full moon parties I'd gone to a couple years before. And I knew Syngin would love it. It's like a 3-day party on this island, on the beaches, just lined with different DJs, partying all night. You'd have jungle parties on another night. It was just, it's so much fun, and I knew Syngin would love it, and it was a great experience I had before, so I want to have it again. So Koh Phangan Island, here we come. We flew back to Thailand and checked into our new Airbnb for the week and had such a great time. Of course, you know, things always have to happen. Nothing can ever be smooth with Syngin and I. We checked into the Airbnb and we could see that like along the coastline that there was like a couple restaurants and everything far in the distance. So we're like, hey, let's just walk around. Let's explore the area. And so we're kind of walking in the water and we're looking around, and all of a sudden, psh, slice the bottom of my foot. I look down, I just see blood everywhere. I'm like, holy shit, my foot is throbbing now, it's hurting so bad. And so I sit down in the water, and Syngin, I shouldn't laugh at it. Syngin like, he just kind of starts going in circles. He's like, oh no, what do we do? What do we do? You're hurt. Oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? And I just, in that moment, I'm sitting down, I'm like, it's my foot that's hurting. I should be freaking out. But he's freaking out. And I said, okay, Syngin, stop. Rip your shirt. Come down here. Look at my foot. Make sure there's no big pieces of shell in it. Wrap your shirt around my foot so it can stop the bleeding. Pick me up, and let's go back to our room. And so that's what we did. But even though now my foot's hurt, it didn't dampen our time. It was still cute. We had a rental bike. Syngin, he would take, we drove and we watched the sunrise at one point, and then we went fishing, and we caught fish, and he started we had a little grill, and it was his first time cooking fish in a banana leaves. It was still so amazing. So amazing. I feel like amazing's been, the term, but it really was. But we have to also remember, we only had this place for a week. So what's our next steps? So in this time, I started just doing some research. I actually found out that this island also has a huge spiritual community with a whole bunch of immigrants from around the world who've kind of moved to this island and made it their home. Through these different spiritual communities, I found out different retreats that were happening. So there was this meditation retreat that I knew Syngin would love because he talked about how much he wanted to do that. I found a couple different goddess circles, like goddess workshops, teacher training courses for women's circles, so much that I was like, okay, we're definitely going to stay on this island for a while. But how? How and what are we doing? Syngin, being the great conversationalist that he is, it's one of my favorite traits about him, is he began talking to the owner. And it was just, wasn't looking for anything, just having conversation, was just kind of explaining our time so far in Southeast Asia, and, how we're just kind of looking for another place where we can volunteer at, and, for room and board. And the guy's actually like, he's like, actually, I've been looking for that. Like, that's something I've been wanting to do. And he says that, there's another room that would be available for us to stay in. Of course, because we couldn't have the beautiful oceanfront villa. So he tells Syngin about this other room that we could stay in, and that there's housekeeping and yard maintenance that just needs to be done in exchange, and sounded absolutely perfect. Syngin brings it up to me, and I say, thank you so much. You're absolutely amazing. I love how much you can talk to people. Because it was up to me, we wouldn't have made that connection. And it's our first day, and the guy's kind of walking us around, and he's like, yep. He's like, so even if we don't have guests who are staying here, we still clean these rooms every day, top to bottom, just to prevent like bugs and mildew and everything. And then he walked us around the gardens, like what trees he wanted trimmed, what the banana trees, and what he wanted done, and the hopes for that. And just coming back from this permaculture course, Syngin and I actually had learned some stuff that we were able to show him and everything. So it's pretty cool. So it seems like a great orientation. Syngin and I, at this point, we do everything together. That has just been our relationship from the beginning. We did banquet on call jobs together. We traveled together. We slept together. Like, everything was done together. We were just always together. And so we assumed doing this work, like, we would go clean the rooms together and then go do the yard work together. Well, the owner had different ideas. He said that I would do the housekeeping and Syngin could do the yard work. Being the second day now that we're working, we're like, okay. And I remember telling Syngin, well, tomorrow, like, you can do the housekeeping and I can do the yard work. So it was fine with Syngin and I. Come to find out, no, the owner doesn't believe that men should be doing housekeeping and cleaning work. So this started turning into a little thing, and I'm like, Syngin, what are we gonna do? Like, this isn't right. What are we gonna do next? Syngin, and that was just the first little flag at this place. So Syngin comes back and tells me about this lunch that he had with the owner, and he says that the owner was saying that because I was an American woman, that I was very stubborn and needed to be taught how to be put in my place. and asked Syngin, like, okay, well, what did you say? Syngin like, nothing. What would I say? We're staying at his place for free. What could I have said without starting an argument, you know? And in that moment, I realized that Syngin didn't know how to handle confrontation verbally. He only knew how to handle confrontation physically, and that was from his time growing up in such a mining culture in South Africa. The mining was very toxic masculinity, toxic violence. Like, you had to be tough, men don't cry. Someone talks shit, you just punch them in the face. Like, very much that. So I'm like, okay. It's a little sad that I'm like, he doesn't know how to handle things like this, but it's much better than him punching him in the face. So I'd rather him not say anything than punch him in the face. So great improvement on Syngin part, a little sad on my part. All right, due to the situation, of course, I was ready to leave and find our next spot. So I hopped back on these Facebook groups, and I asked for places to stay for free in exchange for labor, and found someone actually on the same island who was looking for someone to cat and house sit for them while they had to go away for 2 weeks. We met up for lunch to check each other's vibes out, make sure, we're both relatively normal people, and it clicked. So she decided to let us stay in her place and even let us use her bike for a very cheap amount. All right, so we were in Thailand, went to Laos, now we're back in Thailand, but stay tuned so you figure out how Syngin lost the bike.